Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you, Guru Maharaj, for joining today's call. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much for joining today's daily call. So Guru Maharaj will continue to enlighten us on the glories of Lord Narasimha Dev. Hare Krishna.
Obeisances to everyone. Hare Krishna.
Guru Maharaj, you like me to share anything, any verse from the scriptures?
No, I have something I'll just read from.
Okay, Guru Maharaj, sure. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Let's see where is it? Okay, this is some verses in glorification of Lord Nrsingadev. And these verses are from one scripture called Subhasita Ratna Bandagaram. And I'll read all the way, then comment. Umagyantimirandasya Ginajana Salakaya Chaksun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimakti Bhakti Vedanta Swami Tinamane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvisesa Sunyavari Vastyatya Devi Sutarine Vanchakopa Tarubhascha Krita Sindhu Vevacha Patitanam Bhavebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Bhaktananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare. So tomorrow we'll start narrating the pastime from the beginning, and we'll continue all the way up until Friday. So Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday, I guess, 3 days we'll narrate the pastime. Today we'll speak about some beautiful verses. So I'll chant the Sanskrit and then read the translation. Satro prananila panchabacham dasa jayotraka iti kopam mivata mra pantu no niharer nakaha. May the fingernails of Narahari, Nrsingadev, who are assuming a reddish color and are thinking the enemy only has 5 life heirs while we are 10 in number. So how can the enemy win against us? Protect you all. Next one. According to Ayurveda, every mortal body has 5 heirs. These heirs are known as prana, udana, vayana, samana, and apana. When all these life heirs, especially the prana, depart from the body dies. Naitsti Panjara Vidarana Lobarandra Raktambu Nirjala, Raktambu Nirjara Radhigana Jata Pankaha Palendu Koti Kotila Sukachanchu Basa Raksantu Simha Vapuso Nakara Harer Vaha. They have become as reddish as a parrot's beak due to contact with the blood flowing like a river from the crevices in the broken bones of the demon Hiranyakashipu. They appear curved like the waxing moon on the second day. May those fingernails of Hari, who assume the form of a lion, protect you. Chatach chatiti charmani chamiti chochala chomite. Daga iti medasi sputa ravo stini stag iti. Unati bhavato harir amar bari vaksastala. Kwana karaja panjara pakacha kach kasa jamanalaha. May the fire born of the friction of the teeth of Hari's saw against the chest of the demon, may that purify you. On the demon's skin, this fire made the noise chatta chatta. His flowing blood created the noise chama chama. The fire burning his fat made a loud daga daga sound, while the fire burning his bones created a loud cracking sound called kada kada. Translator's note, Lord Nrsinga's arm is compared to a saw, and the fingernails attached to the arm are compared to the teeth of that saw. Disya sukam narahari bhuvanika viro asyat havaditi sudha dala no dat tatasya kroda datam mukam aviksitum aksasamatvam jane bhavanija nakeshwapi yanataste. Even his own fingernails are not able to look at the angry face of Nrsingadev, made angrier by the slaughter of Diti's son in battle. That is the reason why these nails are bent down, as if cowing away in fear. May the sole hero of the universe, named Narahari, Nrsinga, bestow happiness upon you. Vapu Dala Sambrahma Sanaraka Pavisvipu Gayatra iti Vishmayat Prahanti Lokas Sarvataha Ritati Kara Tadanam Nipatitam Puro Danavam Nirikshya Bhuvi Reno Vaj Jayanti Jata Haso Harihi. Fearing the destruction of the body, of his body, the enemy, Hiranyakashipu, entered into Nrsingadev's nails. Nrsinga, being astounded at the disappearance act, thought, where is he? Where is he? And looked everywhere, not finding him. Nrsinga said, oh, it was all in vain, and banged his palm on the wall. Thus the demon fell down like a speck of dust on the ground. Seeing him like this, the Lord laughed loudly. All glories to that Lord Nrsingadev. Pretty interesting analysis here. For yanta jala rasayo visumati majatado lupyate. Patalam satadam gata nir patati brahmanda kandam divaha. Niksheptena suradvishosva Apusa Matdeti Manye Vahan Utsangena Hatat Hiranyakashipu Simha Hari Patova. Lord Nrsingadev is speaking. If I throw the body of this enemy of the demigods, the ocean will overflow. The earth will drown in the causal ocean and the lower planets will be destroyed. The universe will be shattered into pieces and the heavens will fall down. Thinking like this, he kept bearing the body of the dead Hiranyakashipu on his lap. May the Hari, who appeared as a lion, protect you all. And that's the conclusion of these verses. So these are quite powerful verses, really give an interesting and a different insight to the thoughts of the Lord as he's killing the demon, and the activities of Hiranyakashipu as he hides within the nails of the Lord. And the Lord appears to be unable to see him. But then when he bangs his hand on the wall, the demon comes flying out of his fingernails onto the ground, and the Lord just laughs. This demon caused so much havoc to so many living entities that the Lord gave him special mercy. All glories to Lord Narasimha. So we were jumping a little ahead in terms of the Leela towards the final part of Lord Hiranyakashipu's existence. But these verses are quite unique, quite interesting, very poetic, very devotional, and they give a insight. So I'll read one more thing coming from another source. This is an article written by a very wonderful devotee. Lord Narasimha is given many titles, but one of his main titles is he's called the protector of his devotees. So we'll read now a little bit from the beginning of the pastime. Sri Prahlad was a devotee of Lord Krishna from birth, having acquired knowledge of devotional service within the womb. Once, during the absence of Hiranyakashipu, his enemies, the demigods, servants of the Supreme Lord, responsible for universal management, kidnapped his wife to kill her embryo. They feared that the embryo might later develop into another terrible enemy. Srila Narada Muni rescued the mother and child after convincing the demigods that the boy to be born was an exalted devotee of Lord Krishna. While still in the womb during his mother's stay at Narada Muni's ashram, Prahlad overheard Narada's transcendental discussions on the glories of the Lord and became fearless, fully surrendered to the infallible shelter of Lord Krishna. Later, though only a child of 5 years, he had firm faith in the Lord's protection and invoked the same pure devotion to the Lord in the hearts of his schoolmates at the atheistic school of Sukracharya, who was the guru of the Daityas and atheistic descendants of Diti. Enraged at his son's undeviated devotion to his worst enemy, Lord Vishnu, the four-handed form of Lord Krishna, Hiranyakashipu sentenced Prahlad to death. Hiranyakashipu's henchmen tried everything to kill Prahlad. He was starved, poisoned, cursed by spell, beaten by fiends, stomped by elephants, encaged among virulent pythons, hurled from mountain peaks, attacked with stones, fire, and blizzards. Despite of all of these attempts by Hiranyakashipu, Prahlad remained untouched, and the evil king's anger grew. Hiranyakashipu's enmity towards Lord Vishnu had begun when the Lord, in the form of a giant boar, had slain Hiranyakashipu's twin brother, Hiranyaksha, who had upset the earth equally by greedily mining for gold. Upon the death of his brother, Hiranyakashipu had charged Lord Vishnu with partiality towards the demigods. The Supreme Personality of God has given up his natural tendency of equality towards the demons and the demigods. Although he is a Supreme Person, now influenced by Maya, illusion, he has assumed the form of a boar to please his devotees, the demigods, Just as a restless child leans towards someone. Actually, the Lord is never partial to anyone. Samoham sarvabhuteshu name dvesastina priya. It says in the Bhagavad Gita, verse 929. He simply reciprocates with every living entity, within accordance with the living entity's desires. The Lord instructs in the Bhagavad Gita, yeyatam mam prapadyanta, tam stataiva bhajamiyaham, mama vartmanu martante, manusaparta sarvasyaha. As all surrender to me, I reward them accordingly. Everyone follows my path in all respects, O son of Prita. Thus the Lord appears as death for the atheist, as a loving savior for his devotee, and he himself is beyond any material affinity. This is a very controversial part of the Lord's nature, how he is apparently equal to everyone. He's apparently unequal to everyone, but actually, factually, he is equal to everyone. How is that? It's very easy to understand, although people can't relate according to their own situation. They don't see their own situation like the Lord sees it. And so when they approach the Lord, they expect something to happen according to that. But the Lord sees, oh, this person is approaching me for something material, or this person is approaching me for devotional service. According to how that person is approached, and there are not unlimited, but numerous varieties of ways on by which one can approach the Lord. He reciprocates as a mirror held in front of the image that it's reflects the image perfectly. So in the same way, when the Lord is responding to or even relating to a living entity, he's doing it accordingly. Now for his devotee, as his divine grace, Srila Prabhupada would say, whatever you give to Krishna with 2 hands, he's accepting with 10. And whatever you can hold in 2 hands is not possible because he's giving you everything with 10 hands. So although the Lord is equal, still for his devotee, he gives much more. Therefore, devotees should always be in a mood of gratitude in devotional service, because if we could actually understand our position as being a non-devotee, we would probably, many of us would be in a very terrible state of affairs, or maybe not even within this body. But the Lord is so inclined to favor his devotee that he is always taking care of, protecting, facilitating, and responding to the devotee. Sometimes we go through difficulties, but these are all part of our struggle to live in this material world, because this material world is not a place where we can find any permanent happiness or any facility that will give us lasting comfort. It's just the way it is. Rani Kashipu, his name was. Aranya meant gold, Kashipu meant soft bed. Prabhupada says the demons, or the materialists, are very fond of these 2 things: sex life and wealth, money. So they center their attention around that, and many times not the demons, but those who are somewhere between the level of piety and demoniac nature, in between, they approach the Lord to facilitate their material happiness or the desires that they think will give them happiness. Sometimes the Lord allows that to happen, and many times He'll give it, but He says you can have it, but you're also going to get, because the material energy is a dualistic aspect of its existence. Whatever happiness one gets materially, they will get a concomitant amount of suffering to parallel that happiness. And sometimes the suffering will be even greater than the so-called happiness that they get. Because we call it happiness, which is a euphemism. It's not really happiness. It's a way of defining activities that apparently are free from suffering. If something is free from suffering, it doesn't mean it's happy or joyful. It's just a cessation of some difficulty for a small period of time. But life in this world is always full, always fraught with difficulties. The body's giving trouble. The mind is giving trouble. The other living entities, friends, relatives, family members, people in general, government agents, they're always giving trouble. And then you have, cold, heat, coronavirus, vaccinations, so many listings of so many other types of sufferings that come by way of material energy. Too cold, too hot. I was just talking to Shamlal Prabhu this morning on the phone. He was telling me something that I couldn't even believe what he was saying. Of course, he had to clarify for me a little bit so I could understand what he actually meant. But still, it was quite incredible what he said. He said he had heard a weather report coming out of Delhi, India, that the weather report was that the temperature on the surface level, not the air temperature, but the surface level, had reached 67 degrees. Can you imagine that? That's intense heat. No one can live in that. That means if there's some metal in like cars or metal doors, they will reflect a heat intensity of 67 degrees. That means if you touch it, it practically burns your hand. It does. And he said simultaneously, there was a hailstorm accompanying that intense heat. So this is Kali Yuga. I mean, I was in Delhi about a month and a half ago, and it wasn't like that. It was hot, but nowhere near what he was saying. So yeah, this is the material world. You can't expect to have nice arrangements. It's just the way it is. Now, the Lord likes to make his devotee happy, so sometimes the Lord will also reciprocate the devotee's devotional service by giving them something nice in the material way. Some nice situation, some nice relationship, something. That's the Lord's, but that's coming from the Lord directly and not through the material energy. So here, just to illustrate this particular statement, which is foundational, that the Lord is equal to everyone, but he is inclined to his devotee. So we'll read on a little bit more. To take revenge for his brother's death, the mighty Daitya Hiranyakashipu vowed to satisfy his brother's soul with Vishnu's blood. In his quest for immortality and the power to defeat Vishnu, he performed humanly impossible penances, through which he acquired boons from Lord Brahma, the creator of the universe. Hiranyakashipu thought he could become God by his own austerity and penance. He foolishly concluded that since Lord Vishnu was favoring the demigods, he must also be an ordinary conditioned living entity, influenced by partiality and hatred. And he became God only by austerities. This mentality is characteristic of the Mayavadi philosophers, who maintain that every soul is God deluded by Maya, and that once the illusion is dispelled, the soul once again realizes his identity with God. This theory, however, is unacceptable when we consider that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Shri Krishna's supremacy, as he states in the Gita, Maya dakshena prakrite suyate sachiracharam, etunane konteya jagad vipar vipartante. The material nature, which is one of my energies, is working under my direction. O son of Kunti, producing moving and non-moving beings, under its rule, its manifestation is created and annihilated again and again. So what this verse is being presented to show that you claim you're God, but are you the controller of the material energy? If you are, then you are God. But if you're not, your claim is just your foolishness. The material energy, Maya, is one of the many potencies of the Supreme Lord. Since Maya is completely submissive to the Lord, there's no possibility of the Supreme Absolute Lord being overpowered by Maya's influence. The living entities, however, being parts of the Lord, can be deluded. The Mayavad theory that after liberation the soul merges with God is completely refuted in the Bhagavad Gita, verses 15:7 and 2:12, where Krishna declares all jiva souls to be his eternally parts, remaining always distinct as individuals. The Mayavadis also assert that the highest conception of God is of the transcendental impersonal and the all-pervading guna Brahman, which means the absolute truth is devoid of quality, attributes, and form. And he assumes a material conditioned body like ours whenever he descends to this world. Thus, for the Mayavadis, Lord Vishnu or Krishna are Saguna Brahma, Brahma with attributes and form, which to them means materially illusion entanglement, for they just cannot imagine transcendence with qualities and form. The Mayavadis, frustrated with the suffering caused by the material body, conceive of transcendence and liberation as free from qualities and attributes. The Lord declares, Avyakta vyakta apane manyate manabuddhareha param bhavam ajanatam mammaivayam anuttamam. Unintelligent men who do not know me perfectly think that I, the Supreme Personality of Godhood, Krishna, was impersonal before and now have assumed this personality. Due to their small knowledge, they do not know my higher nature, which is imperishable and supreme. The Lord declares he is the source of everything and his form is transcendental. And if he comes to the material world, he comes in the same transcendental form. But the foolish materialists and the Mayavadi atheists, they can't understand it. Therefore, Naham Prakashya Sarvasya Yoga Maya Samudvitaha Mudo Yo Avajananti Avyayam Loka Avyayam. Krishna says, covered by the curtain of Maya, these fools and rascals cannot understand my transcendental nature and my supreme form, which is above everything material. Just as the Mayavadis maintained the false theory that by enough penance the soul can become God, Hiranyakashipu considered that he could achieve immortal dominance over all and vanquish Lord Vishnu with his own prowess. But Prahlad challenged his power. The arrogant Hiranyakashipu cursed him and inquired, "Where do you attain the power to defy my supremacy?" "The Lord of my strength is Lord Vishnu," replied the fearless Prahlad. "He is the source of everyone's strength, including yours." To hear that his strength was the greater Vishnu, his worst enemy, was the greatest insult for Hiranyakashipu, who then challenged Prahlad, "Oh, most unfortunate one, you have always described an all-pervading supreme controller beyond me. If he is everywhere, then why is he not present before me in this pillar? If he does not appear from this pillar, then today your head will be severed with my sword." Okay, so we'll stop there. Now here's some points along with the narration of the Leela. There's some points of Tattva which help us to understand deeper the nature of a devotee, the nature of a demon, and the relationship with the Lord to a demon, and the relationship with the Lord to his pure devotee. Okay, we'll stop here. We turn to
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. Thank you so much for this wonderful class and reading us such a powerful pastimes of Lord Narasimha Dev. And thank you for explaining us how Lord is equal to everyone and how Lord reciprocates according to how we approach Lord. Yeah, thank you for that. Thank you so much again. So Hare Krishna, devotees, please, if you have any questions, comments, realizations, please, you can unmute or you can type in the chat box or you can raise your hand. Before that, I would request devotees, humbly request, if possible, please turn on your cameras. It would be nice, engaging for us. Hare Krishna. Okay. I'll just say good night.
yeah.
Okay. I don't see any questions. Yes, Sridevi Mataji, please go ahead.
Thank you, sir. Dear Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. All glories to you, Guru Maharaj. Thank you for these beautiful pastimes. I was very much intrigued hearing that description of Hiranyakashipu disappearing into the Lord's nails, and then the Lord banging his hand and him falling like a speck of dust. I have never heard that before, never. So may I please humbly request to know where this reading is from, so we can also read it later.
I'll send it at the end, but it's a particular stotra. I have to give me a minute here. I'll go back to where it was.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj, it was in one of the email which you sent yesterday. I can forward it to Mataji.
No, this is something completely different.
Okay.
Yes. Give me more. This is from assorted verses from the Subhasita Ratna Bhangagadam. And so these verses means that they cover not only this Leela, but maybe other Leelas also. So so it's a particular stotra. And it's called the Subhasita Ratna Bangadaram, which is, there are many, many stotras, prayers, narrations.
I have a question also, Guru Maharaj, if I may ask. The question is this. In our lecture today, you mentioned that, there are so many difficulties. That's the nature of this material world. Cold, heat, coronavirus, vaccine, this thing, that thing, something happening all the time. There's danger at every step. We've heard that many times and we experienced that also. So how is it possible for the poor living entity not to be in a state of perpetual anxiety all the time, given that they're coming at you? How can we find peace to carry on our daily activities? Nice.
You can hear the answer in the background.
Oh, the Harinam Sankirtan.
Yeah. Harinam's just returning from the town. There's your answer.
So we must be in perpetual Harinam Sankirtan, Guru Maharaj.
Yeah. Maybe your
Okay.
chanting is not powerful enough to subside the effects of the material energy, so jump into kirtan.
Okay. Thank you, Guru Maharaj. My humble obeisance.
Thank you, Mataji. That question. Dear devotees, any questions, realizations that you would like to share? It's a very nice, important topic. Be nice. Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj. While devotees thinking about questions, so I have just one question. Guru Maharaj, like this material difficulties that we experience, so we experience through material body, but soul is alone, soul is transcendental. So material body, see Prahlad Maharaj, he was physically tortured by his father in so many ways. So still he tolerated. I'm just trying to understand. So when we elevate our consciousness, when we come out of this modes, so do we still experience that pain? I mean, how do the experience will be like? Should we still tolerate, but still our soul is attached to Krishna? Do we experience?
If your soul is connected with Krishna, like Prahlad Maharaj was absorbed in loving thoughts of the Lord, even though his body was apparently attacked, his body was free from harm. Nothing happened to him.
Mm-hmm.
And they tried to poison him, they tried to stab him, they tried to freeze him, they tried to boil him. His body was not at all touched by it. The Lord is the complete controller of both the material and the spiritual. And one who is absorbed in the Lord, the effects of the material energy subside. And depending on the intensity of that absorption, completely subsides.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So, yes, Guru Maharaj.
This is power of pure consciousness. And you can even see it today. how there are certain people who can withstand tremendous amount of pain that for another person they would be rolling on the floor. Consciousness.
Yes, Guru Maharaj, yes, thank you. Yeah, so
Even the materialists, there's some materialists who are very adept at accepting pain and not being affected by it. But when you get into the transcendental consciousness, gradually you are entering into another atmosphere, and that atmosphere is free from the effects of the three modes of material nature. Because we identify with the body, we experience these things of pain and pleasure. The body is dead. There's no life to the body. It's just a dead piece of material. That's all it is. The soul's presence is the life of the body. The soul's absence makes the body, inactive and no longer functioning. It's the soul that gives life to the body. And when we identify with our body, we are experiencing happiness and distress according to that identity, according to that identification.
yes, thank you, Guru Maharaj. So actually, just I want to share my realization, as you said, like as we are connected to this devotional service, COVID, I see like, even though like there's so much disturbance, and we can see that as a devotees practicing devotional service, we have not experienced that fear, so much fear and so much suffering. I see while others, like, family relatives, like, who got so disturbed by this pandemic and other things going on in like a material world. We can see that change, that sufferings have a little bit minimized. Yeah.
Yeah, it's true. Well, our goal is not, the devotee's goal is not to make a nice place here. So whether they're suffering and enjoying, it's all the same. Because it's not about this place. It's about getting out of this place. It's about going back to the spiritual world. So the principle of tolerance is the principle of how the devotees live in the world. They tolerate the happiness, they tolerate the distress.
Yes, Guru Maharaj, yeah. Thank you so much.
Yeah. We have a question from Diptesh, I think.
Yes, I see Prabhuji raised his hand. Diptesh Prabhuji, you have any question? I think Prabhuji went.
Yes, Maharaj, Hare Krishna Maharaj. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glory to Srila Prabhupada. Maharaj, I was reading chapter 1 a few days ago with the same canto where the title Lord is equal to everyone.
Yeah.
And in that, there are verses where Prabhupada would write in the purports that the Lord is equal where, in a sense that if a devotee offers the prayers and if the demon would have an inimical feelings and would chastise the Lord, for the Lord, it's on the same level. And neither the Lord is pleased with the devotee's prayers, neither he is angered or upset by the demons. So if he accepts the prayers of a devotee, it is for their benefit, and if he chastises the demons, it is for their benefit, and that is the principle. So for me, can you? For me, there was a question in the sense that we also discussed about prayers yesterday, and I was thinking about it. So because Prabhupada mentions it in that chapter, 2 to 3 times that the Lord is equal and he's not pleased by the devotees' prayers. He remains neutral. So
you have to talk to Krishna about that. But basically, yeah, that's what devotees do. They offer prayers, and that's what demons do. They cause trouble. So, generally, as Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, that wherever there's a prayer, there's a request for a benediction. Well, the Lord might fulfill that request. But what pleases the Lord is that when we serve the Lord with a desire to please the Lord, it doesn't necessarily mean prayers are going to please the Lord. They can, and they cannot. In other words, the Lord responds according to the nature of the prayer, the mood of the prayer. So, because he's equal, and that's the formula that chapter centers around, is that, he's going to see the demon's inimical attitude towards him and the devotee's prayer in the same way, because in both cases, one is acting accordingly, and the Lord is the object in both cases. So he reciprocates by responding accordingly, but that doesn't necessarily mean that these prayers cause the Lord happiness. Some prayers will, obviously, because he's a person. Well, what makes the Lord happy is when we serve his devotees. Then he shows his favor. For himself, he's not so attached to our prayers.
but then also Prabhupada writes in a nice way that does not mean we have to offer or have anemic feelings. It has to be anukulenya Krishna, favorable for Krishna.
Yeah.
So he clarifies that, but it got me thinking for some time. I'm still thinking about it.
The thing is, there's prayers in the mode of passion, prayers in the mode of goodness, prayers in the mode of ignorance, and then there's transcendental prayers. Prayers can also be expressed within the material energy, attachment to a particular activity in devotion in material life, and praying accordingly. So, what is the best prayer? Is how can I serve you? That's the best prayer.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Krishna is a person. If something is done with love, obviously he's pleased. But if it's just done and there's no or little love in there, then the Lord will maybe just accept the prayer, but doesn't become, he remains neutral. Hey, I'm just thinking of this little story. It's an anecdote. It's kind of interesting. It's got a message to it also. There was one sweeper cleaner in a temple, and he's cleaning. And every day he's seeing people coming and standing in front of the Lord and offering prayers. And so this is going on for some time. So he's starting to think, oh, I wonder what the Lord is thinking. I wonder what the Lord is, how he's dealing with all this. And he starts to become a real puzzle for this person. He's just watching people and he's always wondering, what's the Lord thinking? What's he doing with people offering prayers? So it becomes an intense problem for him trying to figure it out. And finally, the Lord appears to him and says, you want to be me for one day? You can have my position, okay? But there is one condition. You become the deity. I'll make you the deity. But you have to, when people come, you don't say anything. You remain completely quiet. And okay, he agrees. And so now he's the deity. So one very rich man comes and he takes out his wallet, gives a donation, and says, my dear Lord, please give me this, please give me that, please make me more wealthy. And he's so enthusiastic for his. And then at one point, when he's leaving, he drops his wallet on the ground in front of the deity. And he's not aware of it, and he leaves. Right after that, a sailor comes. And no, not a sailor, I'm sorry. A poor man, a really poor man comes and falls at the feet of the deity and says, my dear Lord, I can hardly eat every day. I'm trying to get some food and I can't do it. I can't even feed my family. Nothing's happening. Please help me. And then all of a sudden he looks down and he sees the wallet that the rich man dropped. Oh, thank you, Lord. Thank you very much. So he picks up the wallet. Now he's got a lot of money. He thinks the Lord arranged for him to get that wallet. He leaves. And then a sailor comes. The sailor comes and he starts praying to the Lord. My dear Lord, tomorrow I'm going on a very difficult sea voyage. So please protect me. While the sailor is in front of the Lord, the rich man comes back looking for his wallet. Doesn't find it anywhere, and he sees the sailor standing there. So he assumes the sailor took his wallet, and he starts, accusing the sailor of taking his money. Now, this man who took the form of the deity for one day, he's watching all this. And then he forgets. And then seeing the sailor being so harassed by this man, he decides to say something. So he speaks. He says, no, this sailor didn't take your wallet. And then, the rich man says, oh, the Lord has spoken. He's spoken. He falls flat at the Lord. And then he apologized to the sailor for accusing him. And then he leaves. And then the sailor thanks the Lord and goes away. So that night, he goes home, and the Lord said, I told you not to say anything, and you spoke. I arranged for that rich man to lose his wallet so that poor man could find it and have some money to feed his family, because he's a greedy man and he doesn't need the money anyway. So I arranged for that poor man to find the wallet. But when the sailor came and he prayed for protection, I knew that the next day he would go on that sea voyage, he would die. So I arranged for that rich man to come back and accuse him. And that way he would go to jail and be free from death the next day. So the Lord revealed why he allowed these things to happen. But the so-called, washerman who took the point of the deity for one day couldn't understand that. And he jumped in there and tried to solve the solution. So you can't understand how the Lord does what he does. You may ask for something. You might say, oh, I'm so hot where I am. I'm suffering so much. And I could have went someplace today, but I can't go because it's so hot. Well, maybe you would have been hit with a motorcycle and you would have, wound up in a hospital. So because the heat was there, you didn't go out. Therefore, you didn't get hit with the motorcycle. So you're blaming the Lord for making it too hot. So I'm just using that. I'm just using a little philosophical jugglery to say that you can't see. It's not possible why the Lord reciprocates with a person one way and reciprocates with another person another way. He sees the whole picture. We just see what we want to see, or what we're able to see.
Thank you, Maharaj. Thank you so much. That's very
Thank you,
beautiful.
Maharaj, for that.
Yeah.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. That's very nice. Good. That's very beautiful, Guru. Everything is Lord's arrangement, and He sees the whole picture. So we need to tolerate. And yeah,
If you want to make your life happy, find out the plan of the Lord for you. As soon as you line yourself up with the Lord's plan, then everything will be wonderful. You have your own plan, then you will always have difficulty. What is the Lord? The Lord wants us to surrender to Him in devotion. That's His plan.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj. Thank you so much. Sridevi Mataji has see your hand raised again. You have anything to share?
Yes, Siddha, thank you. Guru Maharaj, what will it take for us to have real faith? I mean, real, at first, rock steady faith, and become rock steady in our service, so that no matter what, we are not thrown off course or shaken off.
That depends on the person. Some people can just hear and do the right thing. Others will get kicked and still do the wrong thing. They still do the same thing. Depends on the individual. So they say experience is the best teacher, but then there's a second part that's not spoken so often. And the second part is that a fool learns by no other means. And so I guess when we get tired of getting kicked, we'll throw up our hands in the air and say, I give up, Lord. I'm yours. You take control.
That sounds terrible, Guru Maharaj, that how many times we get kicked and still we don't get it. I mean,
Well, now we put on some armor, so when we get kicked, it doesn't hurt so much. Right? In other words, that armor is we get callous to being kicked. We sort of go along with the kicks and saying, well, that's just the way it is. Dhritarashtra, he knew his family was wrong, and he knew Krishna was the Supreme Lord. Yet he couldn't give up his attachment to his family members. Attachment was too strong. He knew it was right, but he couldn't do it. The package, the cigarette package says, smoking kills, causes emphysema, lung cancer, pregnancy complications, but still people smoke.
so as at least trying to be devotees, we are trying to be devotees here, and we understand that the Lord's plan is perfect and not even a blade of grass stirs without the sanction of the Lord. So whatever is happening for our good. I used to hear that, I used to hear that as a child. Whatever is happening for our good. That's what they would say, some of the elders. So
it's how you process it also. You don't process it in the right way, how will you get the benefit?
So how should we process it in the right way?
Well, depends on what's happening. Why did that person say what they said to me? So the why question comes, and then you have to say, well, maybe I deserved it, or maybe they're just disturbed, or maybe Krishna wants me to become more detached. It takes some intelligence to understand, based on reflecting about, the way things are happening. And takes some intelligence. But the idea is to accept it, and then if you fight it and you think I don't deserve it, then you won't be able to benefit from it. Accept it and try to, using religious principles, using your intelligence and maybe the advice from senior devotees, get a clearer understanding of what's happening, why it's happening, and how to respond or not respond.
So
now, it's not so easy just to say, well, it's like this. Life is not so simple. The mind is not so easily understandable. Material nature is working in a certain way.
is it advisable to strive to reach that position where we are no longer hankering for something or lamenting over something or hankering for something or lamenting over something?
Yeah, that's what Krishna says. Don't hanker, don't lament. Just engage in devotional service. Probably when you just start engaging in devotional service, you'll find your apartment. You're just looking, and you get to a point that I tried everything. All right, stop looking and just engage in devotional service. And you'll just walk it, and then all of a sudden the apartment will be in front of you.
Yes, Guru Maharaj. You'll be happy to know that my service has doubled. I've never seen so many clients in one day as I've seen in Mayapur. 5 people in one day. 4, sorry.
Well, that's neither good nor bad.
Really? It's
Yeah.
better than 2, right?
The fact that 5 people need your advice, that's bad.
That's true, Guru Maharaj. That's so true. The day should come when we don't need any mental health professionals. We are all happy and ecstatic, just engage in Krishna's service. That's the plan.
Yeah. Give them a one-time formula program. Solve their problems in one visit.
No, Guru Maharaj, it doesn't happen like that. I'm not so efficient yet.
Okay.
Thank you, Mataji. Oh, thank you, Guru Maharaj. Devotees, any last minute questions, clarifications would like to have with Guru Maharaj? Please go ahead. Yes, Guru Maharaj, I don't see any questions. Just a last minute question for me. Like Sridevi Mataji's regarding that question. So we have so many material difficulties, but we also have very strong desire to progress in devotional service, and material energy is Lord's energy, it's external energy. So as a devotees, even though we have that strong desire, so why do we encounter so many obstacles? Is it due to like past karma, or like how?
Don't worry about it. Just tolerate it.
Yes, Guru Maharaj, I try to tolerate, but sometimes I have that question. We do have a strong desire, but still we see obstacles, and when we tolerate.
Yeah, why me? Why me? Oh, why me? Oh, poor me. I'm suffering so much. Quit taking pity on yourself. Just tolerate it.
Okay. So when we
Well,
tolerate,
when it's time to die, what are you gonna say? Oh, why me? It's gonna come. Yeah, you have to. If you learn to tolerate the difficulties now, when death comes, it'll be much easier to make that transition.
yes. Yes, correct. So when we tolerate, also sometimes like it affects our consciousness, but also we doing devotional service, we try to bring it back, but that consciousness gets a little bit affected for a while. So that process like cycle goes on. So
yeah, so just sit down and chant.
okay.
Here, I'll give you a statement by Prabhupada. Let me see if I can, maybe take me a few minutes to find this statement here. Here it is. Okay. You ready?
Yes.
Listen closely. something has dropped in the water, in the river. You cannot see the things dropped within the water by agitating the water. Just stand still for some time. As soon as the water is settled up, you'll see the things as they are. So as soon as our enthusiasm is agitated, it is better to sit down in any temple suitable and chant Hare Krishna. There is no question of being disappointed. After all, we commit so many mistakes. This is human nature. To err is human. That is not fault, but try to rectify with a cool head.
Yes, that's very nice, Maharaj. That's very beautiful.
Yeah, sit down in any temple and chant Hare Krishna.
Yes.
Sit down at home and chant Hare Krishna.
Guru Maharaj, would you kindly tell the date and the person to whom the letter was written, please, for me to write down my notes?
It's a Prabhupada, I guess it's a lecture in Calcutta, January 27th, 1973.
Okay.
Okay, you want to make
Thank
your
you, Guru
announcement?
Maharaj.
Yeah.
Yes, Guru Maharaj. I don't see any questions, so we can end the call here. Before I end the call, just an announcement. I would like to remind everyone about the upcoming retreat, UK retreat. Registrations are still open. We want to strongly encourage every disciple and aspiring disciples to attend the program. Dates are 24 to 27 June. The location is the Vedanta, Lincolnshire, UK. It's a grand palace in the most beautiful natural setting in the rurals of the United Kingdom. The key speakers are Guru Maharaj and His Grace Budhwan Prabhuji and Her Grace Chiti Shakti Mataji. So all disciples and well-wishers are welcome to register for the retreat. You can also email for the more information, sameasretreat22@gmail.com. Please complete this registration as soon as possible. It's a good opportunity to have a devotee association and make friendships with our spiritual consciousness. We look forward to your association. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Guru Maharaj, again for the wonderful class. Thank you for always uplifting our consciousness. Thank you, devotees. Please accept my humble obeisances. Thank you so much for your association today. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Guru Maharaj ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrind ki jai.
Srila Prabhupada ki.
Thank you, Mataji. Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you,
Hare
devotees.
Krishna. Thank you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Sudha. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Thank you.
Mataji, stop live stream.